The letter R, it's how Jaguar spells the letter M, or AMG. After a 5-year hiatus, their flagship is back in R trim. Let's drive this 2014 XJR and check the tech. Now, spotting the new XJR is not too difficult. Look for the more aggressive face. You've also got a bunch of aero effect stuff around the sill you wouldn't find elsewhere. Quad exhaust tips in the back and vents here on top of the hood that are, yep, they're functional. These guys come in 2 lengths also, standard wheelbase or long wheelbase. The latter adds 4.9 inches, all devoted to backseat legroom. Let's get inside. Now inside an XJR, you've got these sort of sport buckets. I don't care for them in this two-tone baseball mitt finish, but there's no accounting for taste. Instrument panel on this car is all video, has been since this model debuted in this generation, but it's looking a little aged. Notice that it does what's called skeuomorphic representation of dials. In other words, it pretends to be 3D dials. There's even this kind of a chrome effect at the top, like there's some light coming down there. That's looking really old school. Just look at iOS 7. Apple got rid of that exact same look, not trying to pretend to be physical objects with video. This should go the same route. Now the center stack is cleaner, it's squared off, it's got nice large zones, and it's touchscreen. Jaguar does not have a central controller the way other cars do. Your home menu here lays things out nicely with audio, video, navigation, and phone, the big 3. That's where things start to break up though. The response is a little laggy on it, not terrible, I think they've improved it, but here it starts to show its rather poor interface design. For example, you've got AM, FM separate from satellite radio. Well, those are all radio. And then you've got something called My Music, or sometimes it's called Source. Well, radio and satellite radio are sources. Why aren't they in a central menu with these as well? Why do I have to hop around so many buckets? And then there's My Video. Isn't that a source? Well, it turns out it's just DVD. So why is there a separate deal for that versus sticking it under DVD? It's also dated in terms of how you do voice command for an address. Navigation, go to address.
Navigation, please say the city name.
San Francisco.
Please say this.
2nd Street.
Multiple addresses were.
Cancel. So it's the old school bucket process where you got to enter each module at once. Too much distraction, too much time for me. And there's no connected search, no Google or any other kind of lookup on the internet to find addresses or destinations via fuzzy logic. Similarly, as you noticed in those sources, there are no media apps supported here, no Facebook or Twitter, though I can certainly live without those in my car. And I also want to see a revision of the climate control system. As you go and turn the temperature knobs here, it takes too long for them to bring up the video display to show your temperature. Ditto for the seat heaters. You got to hit a button to get a menu, to hit a button to turn on the seat heater, which for some reason defaults to 3 bars. Then you got to minus it out down to 1. That's insanely busy. Now, as you can imagine, a car that doesn't do media apps or live search or things like that also does not have a lot of automated drive controls. There's adaptive cruise available, and we have passive blind spot warning lights in our mirrors, and that's it. There is no active blind spot tech, active lane drift tech, or collision mitigating braking technology that'll stop you before you run into something, which a lot of the competitors have. Now up front, the engine's a big part of what makes an XJR an XJR. 5-liter supercharged V8. Goes out to a one-choice-only 8-speed automatic and then rear-wheel drive. They don't do all-wheel drive on these XJRs, keeping in the sporty character. Now the numbers, 550 horsepower, 502 foot-pounds of torque. On a car that weighs about 4,200 pounds, relatively svelte, given its size, because it's aluminum structured, and that's going to get you 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. While delivering MPG that is not bad. You've got 15, 23, 18 average. Let's go for a ride. Okay, now when you get on the XJR and push the start button, the drive controller rises to meet your hand. Why? That's part of the little tech filigree on this vehicle that they seem to love. Drop it in drive. You've also got sport mode, which is self-explanatory, and you've also got this dynamic mode here under the checkerboard button, which really loosens things up so you can get in more trouble. I'm also going to defeat this eco button over here. That's the auto start stop technology, and Jaguar, like every other luxury car maker, has yet to figure out a way to make auto start stop feel luxury. Now, what you first notice in this car is not that it has so much power, but that the power is so available. I love that. It's so rare to find a car with big power, but a light touch. I love these supercharged Jag V8s. Rear wheel drive, as I mentioned earlier, so you can kind of break the rear end out a little bit. I've got the track control off, of course. That makes it a little easier. Steering is a little on the light side and maybe doesn't have quite as much feedback as a lot of purists would like, but I think in a Jaguar it is an appropriate calibration. Now here's where this guy is different than an M car, an AMG, or an Audi S car, is the blend of a luxurious ride quality with a massive power curve. You don't feel like you're riding in something hard and Teutonic ever, even in the full go mode that I'm dialed into right now. Again, kicking the rear end out just a little bit there. This is either an English gentleman's hot rod or an English gentleman's hot rod. You know the difference? Now, an XJR, of course, is a rather rarefied model, so it doesn't come cheap. 116 is base on this guy. Add 3,000 for long wheelbase, which I would do. The handling is still really good, and the backseat legroom is a must in a car like this. Then there's $1,700 for the illumination package that puts these blue rings around the air vents and names on the sills and trunk. I'd skip that all day long. $2,300 though for adaptive cruise control, probably a good buy. You're in for a little over $121. This car is not as sharp on the track as a BMW, nor is it as refined technology as a BMW or an Audi or even Mercedes these days, but it has a nice blend of really serious roadability and a unique Jaguar luxury. Plus, you just don't see them that often.